they're probably going to talk back with you. And if they don't, or they're very like, they send like a 1-word reply, like you're probably not going to work with them anyway.
I'm not going to be that guy that says, I'm not doing that. I need to know how to reach out to clients. You know what I mean? Like I need to be aware and know how to make that happen. In your mind, you're thinking, I've got to DM people. I've got to create content. I've got to be present. I've got to like do these things. And sometimes it's hard to get over that block, you know.
Any day that I don't have something to post, I have like anxiety. I'm like, I need to film a video. Like, it's like a real thing.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back again to another episode of the Studio 101 Recording Podcast. My guest today is the Mr. Jesse Shirts.
What's up?
Actual real last name Shirts.
That's right.
Jesse Shirts.
I always have to explain that to people. Like that's my legal name.
It's a real thing. Jesse, thank you for being here, man.
Of course.
Jumping in on the podcast with us today. And so man, tell us a little bit about like Jesse. So side note, Jesse's only 24. You're 24, right?
Yeah, 24.
Yeah, so Jesse's only 24. So it's like when I normally ask people this question, it's like we've had a lot of years to live, and now we just kind of give our story. You know, it's like Jesse's 24. It's like you've only been doing music production for like what
7 years,
6 or 7 years. Yeah. So, but I'm just picking on you, man. But like, give us an idea of like how you got into music production and, sort of what led you into, doing what you're doing today. Just give us a little bit of background on where you're from and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I guess starting way back, I remember being like 4 years old and just like loving music, like listening to music. My dad gave me this it's like a Sony battery powered radio that you plug your headphones into.
Oh yeah.
And I would listen to that thing. I actually have it still.
Sweet.
I don't know if it works, but so I was just always into music.
Yeah.
And then started playing guitar when I was 9 or like somewhere around 9. And then whenever I was in high school, I was kind of into like rap music, like Drake and all that stuff was like really popular at the time. And I didn't really understand how that kind of music was made. Like it just didn't click in my brain. Like, cause I knew with like bands, like rock bands and stuff, you would just go in the studio and record
live instruments and everything.
Which is still way different than I thought it was in my head, but it at least kind of made sense to me then.
Yeah.
So I think I don't even remember how, I didn't even know what I searched, but I figured out that you could make beats on a laptop. Like that's all I knew kind of.
Yeah.
I think I was around like 14. I'd seen a video of, I don't know if you know who Metro Boomin is.
Mm-hmm.
It was a video on YouTube of him making beats. So then I kind of understood a little bit more about like how that kind of music was made. Originally, I thought DJs made music on their turntable somehow. Like I just didn't understand like
that's fair. That's great, man. That's
the whole thing. So, and then fast forward, when I was 17, I went out to visit my family in California, and my aunt had an old iMac with GarageBand on it, and I was like, I remember we were in a car ride on the way back to her house, and I was like, when we get to your house, can I like pull up GarageBand and try to make a beat? So I did, and then I was like,
that was the end of the story.
I was just hooked. I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. And then super random, like a few days before I left California, my friend Owen texted me and he was like, hey, I'm selling my old MacBook if you're interested. And then I got to California. You know how when you're a kid, your family just gives you money?
For like birthday or whatever.
I was there, so they just gave me money. I think I ended
up. Your grandma slip you a 20.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got
so after visiting everybody, I had like $400.
Oh my gosh, man. That's wild.
And then I texted my friend Owen and I was like, how much are you selling your laptop for? And he said $400. And I was like, okay, perfect. Can I buy it from you when I get back?
Nice.
And so I started on a cracked version of Logic.
Yep.
On my
I've heard that before.
2011 MacBook and a pair of headphones, and just
the rest is history.
Started doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny to me, like, and I'm going to date myself. Like you're the same age as my son, which is like totally cracks me up. But both of you and my son both are like doing really well for yourself. Like you've chosen a path and you're doing really well in your careers and all those things. I'm super pumped for both of you guys. But it's like, it's interesting to me, the parallels of like when I was your age and like, sort of experiencing the fact that like, I might be interested in working in the music industry. You know, it was a totally different experience for me up in the hallway of my house with a guitar and a 4-track cassette recorder thing. Like, man, we had 4 tracks, you know, and you could flip the tape over and you could use the other side. You save tape that way, you know? But like, that's how I learned like to, I don't know what I was doing up in the hallway with a guitar and I borrowed like a drum machine, like an Alesis drum machine, you know, and you could just set the tempo and then hit one button and it just was just one terrible sounding drum beat for however long until you hit stop and, you know, and you're playing guitar riffs over the top of it and all this stuff. And I think like one of the things that like hooked me into like the recording was a thing. In chorus class at school, I had these guys that were like incredible R&B singers. They had a group together, and somebody had asked them to do something for they needed a track for a wedding or something. Like we're going to go sing at a wedding, and I was like, I got you. So I went home and created a drum loop thing and played like an acoustic guitar. I think it was like Water Runs Dry, like it's Boys to Men thing or something. They needed a track. Yeah. And I was like, I got you. So that was like my sort of like thing that was like, oh, this is kind of a cool thing that I think I'm going to do, you know? And, but it's interesting to me, like the parallels of like the technology that, what I call you young guys had access to like right now. And when you were a kid, you know, you could grab a laptop and you had a whole band literally just right there at your fingertips. Yeah. You know, it's super cool and crazy to think about like how the technology has advanced. Oh yeah. And like the different ways that guys that grew up like you did, learning how to use GarageBand or learning how to use virtual instruments or whatever, you know, your cracked version of Logic, you know, learning how to use all of those things to create music, is just a super interesting concept to me. That, and it's the same yet different, you know, like I'm an old dude, you know, like I feel like I'm an old dude half the time, but like my mindset though is like, I'm always like super interested in the technology part of things. Yeah. Like I'm not the, you know, old man, get off my lawn dude. I'm like, I want to know like, what is AI doing with music? Like what new like amp simulators are coming out? You know, I want to stay up to date. And, it's sort of funny. I think I told somebody the other day when you were in the control room with us, I was like, yeah, I love having, guys like Jesse around to teach me what's going on with all the new stuff that's happening. Right. So, but I mean that. I said it jokingly, but I also mean that. You know, having Jesse here, working in the studio every day is awesome. First of all, he's working on some really great stuff. Got a great ear and all the things, but like, you know, it's an interesting perspective. It's a different perspective that I feel like you have that you bring to the table here at the studio. As to like, you know, what are artists like right now looking for as far as like, we talk about TikTok all the time. So this is some things that I want to bring up with you and get your feedback on this. But like, you know, in the social media world that we live in, you know, like it, love it, hate it, like social media is a way for us people that work in music production and studio world. That's an avenue that we use to connect with potential clients. Yeah. And it's not going away. It's whether you like it, love it, hate it, whatever. I mean, it's not going away. And if to me, as an older guy doing this type of work for 20 something years, like if I don't embrace the fact that I've got to get on TikTok and I need to look for clients, like that's a way that you do this type of work right now.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to be that guy that says, I'm not doing that. I need to know how to reach out to clients. You know what I mean? Like, I need to be aware and know how to make that happen.
I would argue though that it's almost easier to get clients that way, because you can spend an hour or whatever or less, make one video and potentially reach hundreds or thousands of people.
Sure.
So if you're doing it the old school way, reaching out to people, like, you can't reach out to that many people in the same amount of time, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's definitely an efficiency and time ratio. Yeah. I guess is one way to look at it. But like, you know, in your instance, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a ton of your clients that you've been able to work with over the past 6 or 7 years, you know, you've kind of connected with via social media, and they might be in Canada, they might be in you know, Texas, you know.
I've worked with someone in India before, which was wild.
Yeah. So like, you know, from me running the studio here in South Carolina, you know, our client base has kind of been people physically attending a session from North Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, wherever they're coming from. They're like physically driving here. And we're still doing a lot of that, you know, here at the studio. But, you know, kind of from your perspective and from your generation of working in the audio recording production world, what has been your experience with, you know, the process of reaching out to clients or clients reaching out to you, just like basically kind of utilizing the social media world right now?
I mean, me personally, I guess I've only ever used social media to get clients for the most part. I mean, there's been a few instances where someone might know me from church or whatever, and I might get a client that way. But for the most part, even just doing cold outreach, like messaging people, it's always been on social media. So I don't really know if I don't really know what to compare it to, just because I've always kind of done it that way. But
right. And I mean, the typically, like, we were talking about on another episode where maybe you're physically reaching out to a client that you kind of connect with, and you see, like, you've seen some of their stuff and you follow their social media, and then, you know, like you said, you send them a direct message. Like, and I've mentioned this to you before, but like, sometimes when you're reaching out, you're going, hey, let me do a track for you, kind of on the house, so to speak.
Yeah.
Like, in your experience approaching connecting with clients that way, like, what is your win rate? What does your success rate look like as far as like reaching out saying, hey, let me do a track and see what we can make happen? You know, like, how does that work for you? Yeah,
well, and it's changed over time. I guess when I was first starting out doing that, I would do a lot of free stuff or mixes or whatever. I wish I had like a percentage that I could tell you, like, reach back out. But now, like, lately, all I really do is I just try to start a conversation with them, ask them about their music, how their music is going, like maybe find out if they're working with a producer. And a lot of times, just having a conversation, they'll either ask what I do, and that'll open a door to be like, yeah, I'm a producer. And that could start a conversation where they might be like, oh, well, maybe let's hop on a call and talk about working or whatever.
Yeah.
I usually don't start out by just asking them if we could do a project. Because I mean, if I don't know you, I'm not just gonna ask you for money. Like, hey, pay me to do something. Like,
right.
But, and sometimes too, like, I've had artists where I reach out to them, actually artists that I'm working with still today that I've done, I think we've done probably 5 singles at this point. I reached out to them in, I think, March of last year. Didn't hear anything back from them. I thought their music was really cool. And then randomly in like May or June, they hit me back up to work on something. So, I wish that I had a better answer, but it's kind of random, honestly. It's like, it's more like you just got to put the volume in, and eventually stuff will start to. Yeah.
And, you know, I've sort of tapped into a little bit of some of that client outreach process, lead gen, and all the words you want to use, you know, and you and I have done some of the same things with the direct messaging to artists. And, to me, it's more personal. Like, when you send an artist a message and it makes you, it makes you appear real, you know what I mean? Like a real person.
Definitely.
And it's not so like, you know, AI robot chat type deal.
What's been interesting recently, though, the past few months, I guess since February, is when you post a video and artists reach out to you wanting to work, that totally changes the dynamic because it's not you appearing like, oh, this guy's just trying to get something from me.
Yeah.
It's them reaching out to you. But I've also had situations where I post a bunch of content on my page and then I go and message someone and then they go watch the content and that proves to them like, oh, he knows what he's doing or at least knows what he's talking about kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it kind of like validates you, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, for real. And it's like, you know, when you reach out to clients that way through a direct message, I guess is what I'm saying. You get a chance to like give a personal, like sort of welcome, hello, hey, this is what I do. If, you know, and you know, hey, I checked out your stuff. I really like what you. Yeah.
If you just compliment them, they're probably going to talk back with you. And if they don't, or they're very like, they send like a 1-word reply, like you're probably not going to work with them anyway. Just, you know.
And I found that a lot of times that the artists are, it's not that we're trying to flatter them by contacting them, but they do feel a little bit flattered, like that you would
take the time to reach out.
Because maybe you saw just this raw TikTok guitar vocal thing, you know, and you're like, man, that guy or that girl is really good singer, you know, like. And
I'll usually only, at least at this point, I usually only reach out to someone if I actually think if I legitimately like it.
It's viable, like,
I'll probably listen to them whether we work together or not, kind of thing, you know?
Sure, yeah. And it's, you know, it's a different way, and it's sort of, it's frustrating though, and I've shared these frustrations with you before. It's like, as far as from the business standpoint, like trying to find clients, it's like, you have this little momentum of things that are working, and then it seems like all of a sudden the social media algorithm just like squashes everything you're trying to do. You know?
I have an example of that. So back in February, I posted this video that got tons of response, like crazy. So then I put a little bit of money into it. Like I boosted the post on TikTok or whatever. Yeah. And I got like probably 3 or 4 clients off that video. And then all of a sudden, like 2 months later, it just stopped working. And then this past week, I posted a similar video and it started working again. Yeah. So it's like, it's a weird thing with the algorithm. And
no one can prove to me otherwise that there's some sort of weird, you know, throttle or algorithm that like boosts stuff or squashes the reach or whatever, you know, like.
I think it could depend on the time of year too, because when that was working for me, it was like around tax return time. So like everyone had a little bit of extra money. So that could play into it as well. Yeah, I mean, there's so many factors though with everything that it's hard to like be like, this thing works all the time or this is how you should do it or whatever.
Yeah. But I guess one thing I'll interject there is the fact that like, when you're consistent with everything you're doing, like you're putting out content, you're being visible, you're sending direct messages, like consistently doing that stuff throughout the year. To me, that's the best way to just continually reach potential clients and that kind of stuff. And it pays more dividends in the end when you just, you know, even though it feels like nobody's responding, nobody's doing anything.
It takes time to build though.
Yeah. And it's the same way, you know, like with, you know, the progression of your development as a producer and all the things, like, you know, you that first beat you created on the MacBook was probably really terrible. And I would love to find that. If you have
have it, I'll find it. Oh man, that would be great.
We're definitely gonna have to post a link to that just so
we'll just use that as the intro music for this episode.
That'll be fantastic.
No one's gonna watch the episode.
Oh, they'll watch it because of it. No, they're gonna watch it because of it. I guarantee you. But I mean the point I'm trying to make is, you know, like you got to start somewhere, and you got to, you know, if you're not getting better over time, then you need to reconsider like what you're doing. And you know, one of the things I love about you is the fact that like, you know, your work habits and drive and things are completely evident to everyone who works here. And it's like when you have a drive to get something done, like, then you're going to find a way. You know what I mean? Like you're going to make yourself better. You're going to find new ways to do things that you need. You know, you need to accomplish a certain thing. Well, I need to learn how to do this.
Right.
And to me, that's an engineering mindset as well, you know, as well as the fact of like, it's just a testament to your character and work ethic to me, is the fact that, like, you know, I see you like out there going, listen, I need to do this because I'm about to have a baby and I got to make, I got to make some money and all these things. And it's like, you know, I got to make this happen. And so that's another part of this whole business that I think has to be an intrinsic part of your personality, is like the drive, you know, to make stuff happen. To
I mean, I've seen so many people, artists, producers, everyone that, like, you know, at least they, from the outside looking in, they look serious or they're consistent for like 6 months or even like a year or two, but then they just fall off. Yeah. And then it's like, and maybe they'll pick it back up later for a little while, and it's like, you can't do that.
And it's a, you know,
that's with anything you're trying to do, like, not just music, you know?
And it's a thing that, the social media world can literally eat you alive, though, you know, is the sucky part of it, is the fact that, like, you can spend all of your effort and time, like, trying to just be present on social media, and it's not necessarily a good thing, you know, like, you're just like, oh my God, I gotta be present. I have to do these things and all the stuff, you know. And
I think so. Once you figure out a system, like once you've done it for a few months and you figure out a system, it's because, like, I only have like 4 or 5 types of videos I post, maybe like 4.
Yeah.
And I can just recreate those, and I know how to, like, one of them, for example, is I just do a breakdown. Anytime a track is released that I produce, I do a breakdown. I know how to make it now. I can set the camera up, set the screen recorder up. I know how to do it. Yep. It takes like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it took time to, like,
to figure it out.
But once you figure out your process that works for you, like, it's not that big a deal.
Yeah. And it's like, we were literally just having a conversation about an hour ago about the fact that, like, trying as an audio professional, or whatever term you want to use, like, trying to get past the hurdle of the, like, mental block of, like, if I don't release this, if I don't put something on social media today, then I'm never going to have another client. You know, it's kind of a weird thing that, you know, hopefully people that are listening can relate, who, you know, producers and engineers and studio owners that do what we do. I'm hoping that I'm speaking to you, saying, like, this is it's a hard thing to, like, just in your mind, you're thinking, I've got to DM people. I've got to create content. I've got to be present. I've got to, like, do these things. And sometimes it's hard to get over that block, you know.
Any day that I don't have something to post, I have, like, anxiety. I'm like, I need to film a video. Like, it's like a real thing. Like,
it's a weird thing, and it's like, you know, I think it says, like, we care about our business, you know, like, want to make sure that we do get business, you know.
Yeah.
But it's also a struggle. It's like, I messaged Joe Carroll at some point. And if some of you may follow Joe on social media, and
he's hilarious. By the way.
If you watch Joe's content, it was like a couple weeks ago. He's at the console in Treasure Isle, and he's doing a handstand on the Trident 80B. He's, like, flipped up, you know, upside down, doing a handstand. And you know, I had messaged him at one point after following all of his content for all these years, and, you know, Joe is, like, he's always doing a gear review. He has a masterclass he's doing, you know, all these things, and he's making content from his sessions and stuff. And I asked him, and he had a hilarious answer, to be real honest with you. I said, Joe, like, how do you create all this content? I was like, do you have a schedule or a system or a thing that you do? Do you block off time, like, once a week, once a month, or whatever? And he just sent back an LOL, and then with a short explanation of, like, he's like, I have so many actual projects going on and tracking sessions and mixing. He was like, I have no idea how I do what I do. But when he said, in my position that I'm in, he's like, I can hire a content creator that comes in, and it's basically, a lot of times, some of the content Joe gets is, like, he doesn't have to be super involved in. Like, the content creator can just grab the stuff for him. And, you know, I understand that not everybody's in that position to be able to hire
that's my plan long term. Like, when I get in a position where I have so much work that I can't sit there and make content, I'm just going to hire some, like, my friend Jordan, who, you know, Jordan.
Shout out to Jordan Easler.
Yeah, Jordan Easler. I think his company's Forward Marketing.
Yep. Yeah.
hire someone like him just to come in and do it for you. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
And it's, if you have that, if you have the ability to do that, then obviously that's the way to go, because I mean, somebody can help you schedule your stuff.
Yeah.
And you're not really thinking, you're not really in that position where you're thinking like, oh my gosh, nothing got posted today, you know?
But the thing is, if you can't afford it, then that probably means you're not in a position where your calendar is booked out all the time anyway. So you have free time. So you might as well just make the content.
Yeah. And in the conversation we were having a while ago was the fact that, the mental block about like actually starting doing the content to me is like, just do it. Like, you know what I mean? Like force yourself literally to like, just do it. You're going to, in like me, like I feel totally like, weird about like, I don't know the right word, but like, I feel weird about making content with my face in the thing, you know? Like,
I feel you. I remember there was one day in particular, probably like 3 years ago at this point, where I made a decision. I was like, all right, if I want a career in this, I have to make content. And it's awkward and uncomfortable at first, but it's like, I was like, I just have to do it. If I want to do this, then I have to, and it doesn't matter how I feel about it. Like, you know? And obviously, like, if you go back and watch my old content, it's so, like, I didn't know how to talk to a camera, and it's so weird and awkward. But it's just like producing. Like, if you do it enough, you're going to get better at it. And
maybe we can tag some of Jesse's old content in
we'll
this too. Just, this is an example of how do you begin? How do you start your content?
But what is funny, though, about the content, around that time, I made a video for Cradle Audio, like a God Particle video.
Right.
And it's so awkward and cringy, but they ran it as a Facebook ad for like 3 years.
Wow.
Which is insane. So
that is wild.
And then that actually opened up some other opportunities to get like free plugins from Cradle and do some other content stuff.
Yeah, which is wild. Talk a little bit about that, man, because I know you've been involved with several companies that have done promo ads and whatnot, and literally for you, unless you correct me if I'm wrong, but like a lot of the ad stuff that and free plugins and stuff that you've gotten, basically you took it upon yourself to make a video about a certain plugin or a virtual instrument or whatever it was. Like the company didn't contact you at all, but you were like, this is a super great software, you know, tool.
Yeah, I mean, my whole idea for that one specifically was like, I'm just going to make the video. I didn't talk to them at all, and I just posted it and tagged them. And then someone from their team reached out and was like, can we use this for a thing? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then later when they were getting ready to release their vocal plugin, someone on their team was like, hey, like, we'd love to give you this plugin. Do you want to like make a video for it, and we'll give you the license? And every time they drop something new, they
give you
and I just make a video for it. And
and that's
now I've had plugin companies, like smaller companies, reach out to me and are like, hey, we'd love to give you a license if you'll just do a video or something.
Yeah, and that's sort of the payment kind of for producing the content for them to use that they can like make money off of.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it's also a new, not necessarily foreign, you know, kind of idea to me, but like when I was 24 years old doing what you're doing, like those kind of things didn't exist. Like the only way that I could get clients was a Yellow Pages ad,
right,
or a friend of a friend of a friend, or whatever. You know, we had no way other, you know, mailers and Yellow Pages to try to find clients.
Right.
So now in the world that we're, you know, operating in, with so many plugin companies and so many software developers and so many this, that, and the other, people are like, they're dying for you to like create content for their product.
Exactly.
And they're willing to be like, oh, here's a free license. Or if you have enough followers, they'll be like, here's $3,000. We're going to run this for a month. You know, those kind of things.
There's YouTubers and content creators that the music they make isn't necessarily like commercially, like it doesn't sound like commercial music you hear on the radio, but they make a full living just reviewing plugins or making stuff with the plugins and doing videos. Like that's a whole other lane that you can do. And you know what I mean? It's really cool.
Yeah. And, you know, that's kind of another point we can make, as far as like independent or freelance music producers, whatever. Like, I personally, I own the studio here and whatnot, but like I personally still have other revenues of side hustles, so to speak. That's sort of a goofy term or whatever, but I mean, like my suggestion to people who are freelance audio or, home studios, whatever, I think you got to have multiple streams of income coming from whatever it is that, you can grab a few extra dollars. I mean, and it's not, the thing that I had to get over, I guess the thought process that I had to get over was that, I have another side hustle, but that doesn't mean that I'm giving up on the main thing that I want to do, produce music or whatever. It's like, it's just smart. It's like
it gives you more freedom, because it's like, if all your bills are covered and someone comes to you with a project that isn't going to be good and you don't want to put your name on, well, if your bills are covered, like I don't have to take this on, kind of thing,
For sure. And but it's a thing that I think people in all freelance work, it's something that's become way more popular, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah.
In recent years, is the fact that supplement your freelance work with something that's semi-consistent, or it's like, at least like you can count on a certain amount of dollars coming in from a supplemental work of some sort, and it's like, it'd be crazy amazing if you're just like, all of my audio production work pays for everything all the time, like, sure, that's if you can do
that's
that.
That's what we're all working towards.
Yeah, and if you're there and it's happening and you have the system and the process and you're doing it and that's all you care about, that's all you do, then fine. But it just, I've spoken to millionaires before who were like, this is my main thing, but like this is what I'm doing over here with this side business or whatever. It's like it's an accepted business mindset.
I guess another thing that ties into that with the content stuff is, I know like Grammy nominated or Grammy winning engineers that have side hustles either outside of music or whatever. But then I also know producers who are Grammy nominated or Grammy winning, but they've built a huge social media following. So then they can sell products to their followers and have other streams of income, but it's all just them. They don't have to work another job or something because they've built a social media brand and stuff.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool too. Like,
yeah, it is. I mean, it's like, you think about like Pensado, Warren Hewart, some of those guys.
There's this guy named Kato on the track.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he's won a Grammy, but he's Grammy nominated. He's worked with a bunch of big artists, but I think he's built his social medias to like multiple 100K on every platform. And he has like consultations and drum packs and sells beats and does all the different stuff. And he just has his own thing,
Yeah. And those, I mean, and just to be completely transparent, like I had done studio work and stuff for years and never really taken advantage of those other types of income streams, and I guess it was a little bit of the fact that maybe I was not naive to the fact that you could do those kind of things. And then it became more of an accepted practice over years. Obviously Dave Pensado is the guy has a huge resume and he's a highly well-respected engineer, producer, mixer guy in this world. And, he's worked on tons of projects over the years. And, now he's been in, kind of teaching mode with his video stuff. And, he does plug-in reviews and things. And that just makes total sense. It's like, that's just something that you probably should be doing when you get to that point,
Well, I've thought about this too. Well, you just said it. Like when you get to a certain point in your career, you already have the Grammys, you have the number ones, you have the platinum stuff. Like it's kind of like, well, what do I do now? Do I just go and keep doing the same thing? Like at some point in your life, you're probably going to want to do something different, or something might be a little more exciting at the moment. You know what I mean? So
yeah, there's definitely other opportunities, I'm sure, that come up with a guy in that position. But I mean, when you're in our seats as well, if you're presented with an opportunity to set up, drum samples or you can set up a course or whatever it is that you can do, that you can sort of supplement things and sort of it puts you out there on a consistent basis as well, advertising, these other things that you do. And I think it's a valid thing, and it's something that you know, like I said earlier, that I'd never really thought about until the past 10 years or so, you know?
Right.
But it's definitely a process, and figuring out what works for you. And, you know, with all the social media outlets right now, especially Instagram and TikTok, you know, guys can monetize their accounts as another revenue stream too. You know, if you're doing enough product reviews, or if you're doing, you know, this is how I produced such and such song, you know, like if you're doing those kind of things and able to monetize your videos, that's just smart. You know what I mean? Because if you're making the content anyway, being able to get enough subscribers and everything, all the things that come into play to be able to monetize your content, you know, that just makes a lot of sense.
And if you have all that stuff set up, that just puts you in a better position in the industry anyway, because like if a label approaches you and they're trying to give you a deal that's not great, and you already have your bills covered and you got your own thing going, you can turn it down and it's fine. But to where if you don't have anything else set up and it's like, this is the only money I'm going to see for a while, like you feel like you have to take it.
Yeah.
Same with artists too, like recording artists. Like if you have your own fan base built already before labels reach out to you, you don't have to take a bad deal or whatever, you know?
Right. Well, man, we're going to wrap up here in a second, but give me a few things that you're pumped about right now. Like what artists, what projects did you have coming up that you feel super pumped about at the moment?
For sure. I'm working with an artist his name is Sherlock Holmes.
Oh yeah.
He's in Atlanta. I don't know when this episode is going to come out, but we just wrapped up a song today, actually. We just dropped one this month as well. And I have like probably 4 projects lined up that are probably going to start within a month or so. All artists that kind of found me on TikTok that want me to do the thing I do.
Yeah.
You know?
Sweet. Yeah. And I know with the Sherlock thing, you guys have some cool stuff going down with that, and could be some good notoriety for you coming down the pipe. So I'm pumped about that for you, man, and hope all that works out.
Sweet. Thank you.
But as always, thanks for coming on the podcast, man, and taking your time to talk with us, man. So,
yeah, man.
But we are going to say goodbye for now, and we will see you next time on the next episode of the Studio 101 Recording Podcast.
Peace.